Welcome back to the DNaz channel. I am your host, DNaz, and today we are getting into the Amazon rainforest, why trees are so important, deforestation, climate change, and how we need to protect this planet. That is what we are getting into today. I want to bring you to why trees matter. You know, I'm the plant guy. I love telling you how to work with plants. Trees are very beneficial to us. Okay. It is the reason why we are alive. All right. Mother Nature is something we need to protect. Okay. And we need to protect the animals, everything about it, down to the microorganisms. Okay. I mean, you got to think life on Earth is so diverse. We keep looking for aliens and other life. We just discovered microorganisms here, right? Back in the BC days, okay, Aristotle, when all these philosophers were around, Plato, okay, they believed there were two life forms, plants and animals, us, right? Then we discovered the world of fungi, mushrooms, right? We discovered the world of fungi. That added a third life cycle. This is going back, I think, to 17 or 1800s. So we just discovered that third life form. Then bacteria, microorganisms, just discovered in the 1800s for sure, right? So think of how recent it's been since we just discovered a new life form, right? And all of this works in an ecological system on our Earth, okay? And every piece of that ecological system is important, okay? The soil is important. The microorganisms and bacteria break down things in the soil, okay? It turns your proteins and your sugars into energy, okay? And that's how our bodies work, right? So then our hydrological cycle, okay, all the water cycle, it breaks down matter, turns it back into water for us, all right? So this is how we stay alive, people, okay? The hydrological cycle is the water cycle, okay? It is a continuous sun-powered cycle. It's a symbiosis thing with the plants and the sun, okay? So the water drops from the sky in the sun to the sun's surface, it gets recycled back into the air, and then it keeps coming. We do not lose or gain energy on Earth, and we do not lose or gain the amount of water on Earth. All the water that was on Earth and that ever was on Earth is going to remain the same because it all gets broken down and changed, okay? It moves through the water cycle through evaporation, condensation, precipitation, runoff, and it just keeps going, cycling, okay? Through evaporation and transportation, the sun heats water in the ocean, right, or fresh water through lakes and rivers, and it turns it into vapor, right? The plants also are taking energy from the sun and releasing water vapor. They are absorbing the water through the soil, releasing that water vapor through transpiration, okay? Then we have condensation, where the water vapor rises, okay? And then it goes into the atmosphere, it cools, right? It forms clouds, okay? Then precipitation happens. It starts to rain, and the water falls back down into the earth, okay? In rain, snow, or hail, in these forms, right? In the states of water, okay? Then the runoff and accumulation, where is water moving across the land's surface, okay? And it collects in bodies of water. And then when it collects in bodies of water, the sun vaporizes it. So this is how our hydrological cycle works. Trees are crucial for our life. They provide the oxygen, okay? They absorb the carbon dioxide in the air. They scrub the air, okay? From all the gases that are in the air, they scrub it. They absorb the carbon dioxide. They fight climate change, stabilize the soil. By stabilizing the soil, they prevent erosion, okay? So they filter our water. They filter all the rust and chemicals out of our water, okay? And it offers a vital habitat for our animals, okay? So trees are very important down to the canopy, providing shade, cooling the surface, right? Because we have this, that's how weather happens, because the sun comes in, right? Heats the earth, but then there's trees providing shading and there's cooling. So the uneven heat site, the uneven heat on the world creates wind patterns, creates our weather system. All right. So for the air quality, first of all, we have like 3 trillion trees on Earth, which is a lot of trees, but that is despite the fact of how many we are taking down, which I'm getting into. But we do have a lot. We have over 3 trillion trees, but you know, that's only so many. All right. So these trees produce oxygen, absorb pollutants like carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen dioxide. Okay. They're scrubbing that out of the air for us. Okay. Then they regulate their climate because they're releasing oxygen through photosynthesis, right? Photosynthesis, first of all, chlorophyll is what makes our plants green. The greener they are, the more they are absorbing through photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is absorbing the sunlight, turning it into energy, releasing back into the world. Okay. So this, like I said, it helps cool the planet. Okay. And preventing erosion and providing food and shelter for us and nature. Right. So when we speak of carbon, when we speak of our emissions and gases, right, it's called your carbon footprint. We have a carbon footprint. Every American has a carbon footprint. Each person is around 11,000 pounds of CO2, responsible for 11,000 pounds of CO2 per year, okay? This is the total amount of human carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide, methane, generated by an individual's actions, such as energy use, transportation, and consumption, right? We use energy through housing and electricity, heating and cooling, transportation through driving, primarily gasoline, right? And flying through our airplanes. Our food consumption, our meat consumption, okay? So we can help this by being more energy efficient, switching to renewable energy, right? Having better appliances in our home, okay? We can drive better vehicles. We can start, you know, a lot of people, different countries, they use mopeds and things like that, things that burn less gas, okay? Electric vehicles are not energy efficient. They are not helpful to us because the metals that we need to mine and the damage we have to do to the earth in order to make this material is more harmful than the energy we are saving. And so it doesn't even, and we're not even saving energy like that. Okay. Same thing as wind. You can notice that China makes all the wind turbines that you see in our cities, but they don't have them in their cities. Why? Because they are a waste of money. They do not provide a lot of energy. They disrupt the bird's flight pattern. Okay, so we have to be smarter about our carbon footprint and what we are doing for energy, right? So why do we need to be smarter? Because of global warming and climate change, right? What are these? Global warming is the rapid increase of the Earth's average surface temperature, primarily caused by humans inducing heat, trapping greenhouse gases like CO2 and methane from burning fossil fuels, okay? This has boomed since the Industrial Revolution, since we made metals, well, not since we made metals, after we mastered working with metal and creating engines, we had the Industrial Revolution. Climate change are long-term shifts in the Earth's average temperatures and weather patterns, primarily driven by human activities, again, since the 1800s. So if you don't believe in this, you are a fool, you know, because you can see the damage we're doing to the planet, and you can see how our weather is way different today than it was 20 years ago. So we have rising temperatures, extreme weathers, more frequent heat waves, droughts, floods, and storms, right? We have sea level rise coming from the melting glaciers due to global warming, okay? And then that is causing ocean acidification because the ocean is absorbing more CO2 because we are giving off a lot of greenhouse gases. So we are ruining our water supply and our planet. Where is our planet's greatest ecosystem? This is the Amazon rainforest, okay? It is the world's most important rainforest because it is a global carbon sink, storing over 150 billion metric tons of carbon to regulate climate change while producing roughly 20% of the world's oxygen. So people, the Amazon rainforest is the most vital thing on Earth, okay? It has an immense biodiversity, okay? Creatures there you'll never see. There are thousands of species of plants and animals that we have yet to discover in the Amazon rainforest, including uncontacted tribes and indigenous peoples, right? So the Amazon generates huge amounts of water vapor and influences rainfall. It has a cloud river, they call it, a river of mist. You could see the mist. If you look at the top of the canopy of the Amazon rainforest, it has a longer river system of mist floating in the air than it does on the ground. Okay, huge weather system it provides. Okay, and it presents 25% of fresh water. Right, so if 20% of our world's oxygen is coming from this rainforest, 25% of the world's fresh water is coming from this rainforest, and contains 10% of the world's known biodiversity, this is the most important place on Earth, and we need to protect it, okay? It also, why I say it affects the world, because all the way over in Africa, now this is in South America, we're talking about Brazil, okay, Peru, right? It stretches all the way into Africa to the Sahara. The dust in the Sahara flies in the air, travels across. There's a trade system, a wind trade system that goes between the Amazon rainforest and the Sahara. And you could see the dust from the Sahara and the mist from the rainforest going back and forth in the air. You could see it when you're in the Sahara, and you could see it in the Amazon, okay? This goes across the world, fertilizing both areas. So fertilizing half of the world, okay? So there are approximately 385 indigenous groups residing in the Amazon basin across countries like Brazil, Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador, okay? In a span of 5 years, the Amazon has lost 23.7 million hectares of forest, okay? In 20 years, it has lost 54.2 million hectares of forest due to deforestation, okay? So humans are responsible for removing an estimated 15 billion trees each year. So I told you we have how many? 3 trillion trees on Earth? Well, we're removing 15 billion trees each year. So this is a huge problem, right? We do this because they have cattle ranching, agricultural purposes, okay? We do logging, illegal logging there, right? That removes valuable hardwood like mahogany, okay? And we also had the rubber boom. So they have rubber trees down there. So think of how much rubber we make. Think of how many tires are in the world, okay? It's insane. If you go to just a thrift store, just look at how much shit is around. Just look how much shit we make, right? This is all coming from the earth. So we need this earth, okay? We're mining it all the time. Again, we are also clearing these trees. We're not even just chopping them down. Sometimes they're just burning forest, okay? They are just burning huge plots of land down there just so they can mine for gold. So what? So we can look pretty? You know, we need to smarten up, okay? So again, we have these indigenous tribes such as the Yanomami, the Kayapo, and the Piraha, okay? So recently, Paul Rosalie, who is in charge of jungle keepers, he went down and explored the Amazon rainforest, and now he is protecting it, right? He is known to have protected the Las Piedras corridor, okay? It's a watershed in the tropical Andes hotspot of the Amazon rainforest, home to 480 bird species, 11 different species of monkeys, 19 endangered species, okay? Including the giant otter, the jaguar, and the harpy eagle, all right? So, he went down there, he made contact with an uncontacted tribe, still living naked. They came out naked, okay? These people don't even work with metal yet. They are still in the Stone Age. No, this isn't an exaggeration. They haven't even seen frozen water, okay? They live in the middle of this humid tropical climate, okay? And they have been uncontacted until about 2-3 years ago when Paul Rosalie went down there, okay? These people were called the Mashko Piro people, but they would call themselves Nomole because when he went to contact them, they held up their hands and they said Nomole, meaning brothers, brothers, okay? All the time, these people down there, they are being killed. They are being invaded on because narco traffickers, drug traffickers wanting to use the land for growing their drugs, illegal loggers doing this again for money, just all this greed and money, right? And we're going down, wiping out, we're completely changing the landscape down there. We're clearing out, burning whole sections of rainforest so they could grow drugs or they could just put cattle there, which disrupts this land because they're always stomping on the land. Okay. So they affect the soil, they affect the way the water flows through the land, right? So I'm just bringing this to your guys' attention because I'm an environmental scientist, you know me, and I love the earth. I want to bring more awareness to this situation. We need to protect our planet, but I will leave on a good note. We have over 30%, I'm pretty sure, of the world's forests are protected now. You can fact check me on that. I'm not going to fact check it now. I'm just going to say, call my bluff. Okay. But we have protected more land than ever. We are protecting a lot of places now because of this movement. We will save the earth. I am one to believe in the good side. If you've ever watched my channel, you know I believe in love and light, and we will change the world for the better. This is the tipping point in humanity. And if you want more knowledge like this, if you want to hear more things like this, come back to the DNaz channel. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.